Come on, Q's. Ah, yeah. Kevin, show me what them Kappas can do. Yeah, go and stay down there. Q Cypher. Yeah. All right. How everybody doing? I want y'all to see that baby boomers can still jam. Plus, there's nothing worse than sitting in sessions, having lunch, and then some old boring dude come out here, right? So instead of telling y'all to stand and stretch, I said, let me do a little atomic dog. Cue sight free. All right, now before I get into my talk, Detroit means a lot to me. And let me see if I got this. Oh, I have to hit start down here. Let me see here. You know I don't know what I'm doing. All right, somebody come up and hit the start button. I don't see it. That's right, I heard you, millennials. That's the other thing about old folks. We hear real good. We hear better than y'all think. We just pretend we don't hear. Don't go to sleep on us. You ready? Go on, hit it. It's the first, go back to that first one. There we go. All right, now, I have to tell y'all why Detroit is so important to me. See that picture right there? That's of my lovely wife of 35 years. Carla, stand up. That's my wife, Carla. Now, let me tell y'all why Detroit is special. That's the summer of 1975. We were both 19 years old. I was home from Morehouse, and Carla and I had met in high school, and I couldn't stand her, okay? I was a quarterback in my high school. She was a cheerleader in another school. I was like, I'm number 12 in your program, but number 1 in your heart. And that, she didn't get it. So I thought she was kind of stuck up. So anyway, fast forward 3 years, I come home for the summer. And a buddy of mine is here in Detroit working on an internship for Morehouse. So I was kind of talking a little bit to one of Carla's girlfriends, and I said, you know what? I said, Gail, why don't you find somebody for my boy Kenny, and we'll go out all weekend. So she gets Carla for Kenny. So we go out on Friday and go to Pine Knob. This is 1975. So I started going, wait a minute, I might have gave Kenny too good a deal. Now, Kenny had only known her 4 hours, and it's my turf. So that next morning we got up, I said, Kenny, something's come up, man. I'm gonna have to take you back to Detroit. So I took him back to Detroit. I called Carla, I said, I am so sorry. I said, Kenny had to go back to Detroit. I'll take you out tonight because I don't want you to feel bad. True story. So Detroit, because of y'all, I've been happily married 35 years. Also, I want to thank Michelle for having me come speak. Michelle was a superstar in Atlanta. I was really sad to see her go, but I knew Detroit and Michigan was getting a superstar. And Michelle will go to the ends of the earth for you. But you got to be real and you got to deliver. Also, I want to thank my buddy Steve Copeland for coming. We went to high school together. Rasul Rahim, he is now an attorney here in Detroit, went to high school. My Aunt Francine, and then of course my Uncle Billy. I like to brag on him. He was the first black head pilot for GM, and he was also the first black general to lead the Air Michigan National Guard. So let's give him a hand. Well, I'm gonna take you on a journey. Michelle and them said, Dave, we're charting the course. And I said, all right. She said, we want somebody to talk about what it's like to build a business. So I'm gonna take you on a quick 30-year journey. Now, the other thing is, my topic and theme really is we are much stronger than we realize. And after you hear this talk, you'll understand why. So here I am at Bechtel Power Corporation, and I was working in the nuclear power division as an architect. And we had to go through, and my dad taught me, he said, son, wherever they want you to go, you go. And when I was in architecture, that's when we still did drawings by hand. We didn't have CAD yet. We didn't have computers. And we sat there at a drawing table and we drew all day. In fact, you can kind of see that's me back in 1981 trying to look intelligent. And you can see we actually had to draw back then. So anyway, I decided a field assignment came up because I always thought I'd have just a little architectural firm maybe one day. I just really thought I'd work for somebody. So anyway, a field assignment came up at Fermi. First it was Midland, Michigan. I was up at the Midland plant. Then I was on the Fermi plant. So I was working and I fell in love with the action, the dirt, the construction. And I realized I would be an okay architect, but I could be a great builder. So what I did, I took my knowledge of architecture and went in construction. So that's really how I got into construction. But the important thing to understand is you got to be real about what you'll be good at. I could have wanted to be an architect and have a firm, but if I knew I wasn't going to be that good, I never would have made it. So you got to get comfortable in being real about what you know you're good at. You can have a passion about something, but be horrible at it. Such as singing. You know, a lot of people think they're going to be singers, but they can't sing. So you got to know how to then take, how do I get into music and maybe just sing on the side? And that's how you have to look at stuff. You have to know what is it that you can be good at. So anyway, I'm working at Bechtel. And if any of y'all can relate to this, give it a little applause. So I get married. My wife's parents live 2 miles to the right. My parents live 2 miles to the left. And after about 8 or 9 months, I said, baby, if we're going to be happy, we getting out of Ann Arbor. It was just whose house we going to for Thanksgiving, Christmas. I got to go cut mama's grass. You know, why you always got to go to your mama's house? You know the drill. So I decided I'm going to be happily married. I'm going to take you 750 miles away. I'm going to take you to Atlanta. So I got a great job at Bechtel. She's got a great job at the University of Michigan. And I took a couple grad courses so I could live in married student housing. So we was living cheap, $240 a month with no air conditioning, no dishwasher, but we didn't cook much, so it didn't matter. Carla she worked a mile from the place. I was driving all the way to Monroe, but it didn't matter. I said, we're going to Georgia. So I got this small company offered me a job. And Carla had never lived anywhere but Ann Arbor, and she was still thinking the South was the South. And her family's like, you taking my baby down there? And you know, being a young man, I'm like, look, I know what I'm doing. I'm taking my baby and we going away. And I got a great job. So I go down there, we move. 3 months after I have this job, this company goes bankrupt. Now, I only live 2 miles from there, but you know that was the longest drive of my life, trying to figure out how in the world am I going to tell my wife that I don't have a job now, and we left great jobs. But I took the next 4 or 5 years working for small companies. Then finally in 1988, there we are, the whole family started CD Moody Construction Company. And I say this because what was I thought was my worst day actually became my best day. So often in life, we think something's really bad, and it turns out to be the best thing that ever happened to you. And that's why I always tell people we are so much stronger than we realize. So anyway, you know, when we start building the business, we cut out cable. We didn't go out to eat. I mean, we were struggling. Even went to single-ply toilet paper. We did everything. We gave up something else because I said we got to have some Charmin up in here. This single-ply ain't gonna work. But it's amazing what you can give up and still be happy. You start realizing it's not all about the material things. Plus now I got to prove my decision 5 years ago wasn't the wrong decision. Now, even though my wife was always supportive, when I said I think we'll go in business, she went, well, we don't have nothing to lose anyway. Now, I always told her she said it in a supporting way, but that kind of cut, you know, to say, well, we don't have nothing to lose anyway. But we were messed up. We were broke. So anyway, we started building this business and doing projects. And here's a project back at the airport. If you've ever been to Atlanta, it's the Stouffer's Hotel that's right on the runway. And that was one of our first big projects that we were on. And it was scary. I mean, all of a sudden, you got to start making payroll. People depending on you. And that's what I tell folks. Being an entrepreneur, there's a price you're going to pay. You're going to pay a price to be an entrepreneur because you never get to shut it down. Even though we take great vacations, I'm always thinking. Last night, we get here, I get a call about something on a project, I got to deal with that. Then my wife and I got some rental property, some squatters had moved in with a fake. I mean, there's always something. But as you age and get used to it, I said, if it ain't death or someone seriously hurt, we're going to get through it. So you start learning how to manage that. But when you're 29, 30 years old, 31, like I was trying to start a business, you're scared to death. So anyway, I'm struggling, and I'm wondering how we're going to make it. So this is one of my favorite deals. That's Michael Jordan right there. And that picture says, congratulations to our construction business, David. Michael Jordan and I had been negotiating. I've been negotiating with his agent to invest in my construction company. And at the last minute, I pulled the plug. Now, every now and then I kick myself. I could have probably been part of the owner of the Charlotte, but I decided if I was going to do this, I was going to do it on my own. I also was afraid that they might take control of the business, boot me out anyway. So I decided we don't have nothing, we'll just struggle through it. And if I make it because we did it. And if we don't make it, it'd be because of us. And I always wanted to say we did it on our own. Now, the other thing that's important about starting a business on this journey is managing your money. You got to manage your money. You got to manage it well. You're going to learn about hiring. I had a bad habit of holding people too long. I always felt I could save them, I could fix them. And you got to, let me give you some advice after 30 years. If you got a bad seed, get rid of them. Because they do more damage while you thinking you helping them than you could ever do by just replacing them and going to find someone else. Now, as I let go of Michael, I said, no, I can't do it at the last minute. His agent said, you're the first person to ever turn down Michael money. He said, but I applaud you for doing it. So anyway, 1991, my wife and I go to the White House. I win an award at the White House. I win a Small Business Person Award from the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. I'm the first black to ever win that. Life is just going. Life is booming. I'm like, man, this is going to be a piece of cake. And this is when life turned on a dime. And this is the important part I want you to hear and understand about we are stronger than we realize. So 1992, 36 years old, something comes up where I finally tell my wife I was sexually abused as a child. And I planned on dying with that secret. And I'm like, okay, that wasn't bad. I said it, it seems okay. Well, about 2 months later, I started having panic attacks. And I had the really bad one. I was out of town by myself. And I was on a business meeting. And I'm at this dinner, and all of a sudden I can't breathe. So I'm thinking I'm having a heart attack. They take me to the hospital. I'm in St. Simons, Georgia Island. They said, sir, you're fine. And this was the second bad one. And I get back to the hotel room. Now I'm crying uncontrollably in uncontrollable shakes. I'm actually having a complete breakdown in this room on my own. And now I got to figure out how I'm getting back home after driving 5 hours. So I lay in the bed that night. When I get up, I tell the folks, I got to leave. And that was the longest 5-hour drive of my life. And that's when the cell phone was 35 cents a minute. And I probably had a $1,000 phone bill just trying to drive home because I had to talk every 10 to 15 minutes just to keep this anxiety from happening. Now you got to remember this, my business is only 4 years old. I gotta figure out what's going on and keep my business going. How am I gonna do this? So I get home and I basically just fall out. So we start taking all kind of tests. And I had every kind of scan, you name it, hooked up. They said, sir, nothing's wrong. But we still couldn't put childhood sexual abuse 26 years ago is creating this problem because they weren't even talking about it then. So finally we figured it out and I started getting therapy to deal with it. But my wife, and this is why I know there is a God, because there's no way I should have made it and kept my business while I was trying to heal with nobody knowing what was going on. And that's why I say we all are stronger than we realize. And everybody in here, you will be knocked to your knees one time in your life. Okay? But the beauty is picking yourself up. All right? Because you can survive anything, I promise you. I didn't think I would, but I also knew I couldn't quit. I had a wife and 2 kids, and I had people working for me. And I had decided I wasn't going to let that abuser win. So we got through that. And next thing I know, we're building the Olympic Stadium. Okay? Now, we were doing the presentations. My wife, I'd have a little medicine on me. It wasn't weed, but anyway, it's now legal in some places. But anyway, I'd had to get myself together to kind of keep my anxiety down. And nobody knew what was going on. And I talk about this too because so many people are suffering in silence with anxiety and other forms of mental health. They don't mean you crazy. You just got a chemical thing that's working different ways or whatever, and you can still have an incredible life. That's why I speak up about it. Because too many people are taking destructive lifestyles because they're too ashamed to go get help. And I speak up to want you to know, don't be ashamed. You're not alone. If you're dealing through something, do it. Go get the help and have an incredible life. But anyway, so we start building our business, things are going good, and life's just growing. Now, the important thing I tell you this is because that's my Lion Brothers in 1976, and then that was us in 2016, 40 years later. We're all still alive. We've been together 42 years. But the reason I tell you that story is because I want you to understand you got to have people that are close to you in your life that you can talk and say anything to, because you're going to go through some stuff and you can't hold it by yourself, especially if you're going to be in business. It's hard enough just trying to find work. I'm in the business of what I say, we eat what we kill. Every time we finish a project, I got to find another one to build. We eat what we kill, so we're constantly on the hunt. That's a lot of stress. 30 years of making payroll, trust me, yeah, we've done okay, but there were times I'm like, man, I'm going to get me a job. Let somebody else deal with payroll. But it's very important that you understand that you stay grounded. But also it's important, and this is what concerns me with a lot of the newer generation, they don't have verbal skills on how to solve problems. They want to text and email stuff, and I try and get my team to understand all the time. Pick the phone up and talk to somebody, because in the interchange, I've done it myself, but in the interchange of email and texts, it can get the wrong message. And I got a 31 and a 33-year-old who offices are down the hall from mine, and we texting each other in the building because they won't get up and come down and say, hey, Dad, what you think? And I'm like, can't y'all just come down the hall and talk to me? No, you know, but it's just amazing. So, and I tell all young folks, those who learn great verbal skills, you're going to wipe everybody off the map because you're going to know how to talk to people. So please, don't be afraid to have verbal communication. Could you imagine me giving this speech by text or email? It wouldn't be the same to you. The other thing that's very, very important is, one of the things I learned about anxiety It creates imaginary fears. And what I really came away with is that you have to fight through the fear. And what's on that other side is unbelievable. Imaginary fear stops us before we even start. Now, I've been talking to Brother Cohen, he's in sales. A lot of people can't sell stuff because they're afraid. They automatically say before they go in, they're not going to buy my product anyway. So you either go in there with a bad attitude or you go in there and just don't do your best because you already have said you're not going to make it. Just like the people that are around you, if people aren't pushing you going, hey, you can do it, if all they say is you can't make it, that's not the people you need to be around. I mean, one of the reasons I admire my uncle so much, he flew 125 missions in Vietnam. He was 23 years old. I can't imagine what that was like to be 23 years old flying an F-4 fighter, wondering if you're going to come home tonight. That's fighting through fear. What we do in business every day is fighting through fear. Just getting up in the morning is fighting through fear. But doesn't it feel good when you push yourself through something, whether it's the fear of heights or whatever it is? The other important thing is give back. Give back and don't expect anything in return. Give back because you want to. It feels good. This is a group called Westside Works, where we're building a new stadium. They had a training program. They took people from the Vine City area who have really been left behind. And we had training programs in construction and different things like that. I go to Honduras every year, and we work in villages, and we do everything by hand, building concrete. We mix the concrete by hand, and we built some latrines, and that one meant more to me than anything. This family was using a bucket out in the back, and we built a latrine for them. But what was amazing about it, they took tree branches, stones, and mud, and that's how they made the housing. We just did the concrete, dug the holes. And we put the little toilet in, and it ran off, and they were so happy because they now had a bathroom that was an outhouse. And it made me realize how often we don't realize how blessed we are, even when we're struggling. There are people who really have nothing. And that's why it's important to give back. You must give back. And here's a group of the guys from the Westside Works. This is us over at the Olympic Stadium, just having a great time. Now, I'm about to close in just a minute. I wrote a book called Fighting Through the Fear, My Journey of Healing from Childhood Sexual Abuse. I wrote that book last year, and I went to Harvard in 2015. And it was a great experience. My wife and I lived up there for 4 months, and I got a chance to be invisible. And let me tell you what I mean by that. I was a student. Nobody knew me. I wasn't Dave Moody, C.D. Moody, construction CEO. I was just a regular student. I was invisible. And I was the best 4 months of my life to be invisible. I didn't have to worry about job stuff, this stuff, because I left my folks in charge. I said, look, either y'all do it and have a job when we get done, or if you don't do it, y'all gonna be looking for jobs. And I left them just like that. And I didn't miss it. So it's important that you understand we have to give back. I have a website called moodyspeaks.com. It is for anybody who's been through sexual abuse or any kind of trauma who wants to hear positive stories from other survivors, because it's very important to realize you're not alone. Now, I'm going to close with this right here. Last year, I did a 7-day rafting trip down the Grand Canyon. It was one of the dreams trips. Now, I trained for 5 months because we had to hike out the last day. It was 7 miles, 4,600 feet straight up. I slept 7 nights on the Grand Canyon right next to the Colorado River at different spots on that cot. I'd even put a tent up because I wanted to feel what it was like for 7 nights to have nothing but nature. And it's just like in the Bible, folks, when there's no city lights, the stars were so bright and so many. And when the moon would come over the mountains about 10 o'clock at night, I didn't even need my headlight to walk around. That's how bright it was. You couldn't sleep with your eyes toward the moon because it would wake you up. That's how bright it was. But the beautiful part about that trip was I realized, and I tell you, I had to fight through some fear because you can't use a cell phone. You have no service. And I started thinking, suppose I have a panic attack. Oh my God, I can't call Carla. But I fought through that fear. Now I do have to admit, I did rent a satellite phone, and I had that in my backpack. So I did have my safety valve. But the satellite phone only worked for like 10 seconds, whoosh, you know, but it was my safety valve. But what I realized by day 3, no internet, no TV, no telephone, we didn't hear nothing. It was 16 of us. We didn't hear nothing negative. Can you imagine a week of nothing negative? We didn't say nothing negative among each other. All we talked about was how beautiful it was, because we took hikes every day. So I tell people now, you need to create your own Grand Canyon. Wherever you are, you gotta have a place where you can be free from negative noise. Turn off your TV, turn off, I'm telling you, it was the most incredible thing when we were hiking back up that last day. Now I tell you something, I trained. I was doing 30-pound backpacks, hiking Springer Mountain, all kind of stuff. So one night, my buddy and I are training, and we go to the top of Springer Mountain, okay? And a freeze comes. Now, I decided I'm gonna pack light because I didn't want all that weight on my backpack. So I didn't have my heavy duty stuff like I needed. Well, it starts getting really cold, now I'm shivering. And because we got into what they call a hut that you can just kind of get in with no tent, but the wind rips under it and comes up. So my buddy is sweating, he's got so much stuff on warm, right? And I remember they say you put 2 bodies together, you know, you can be warm. So I tapped my buddy Robert, I said, Robert, I'm gonna cuddle with you. If you tell anybody, I'll kill you. But that's how cold I was. But my point being, have your Grand Canyon. And this is why I do it all. Remember that first picture of those little kids? That's us now on the stadium project. And folks, this is why I do it right here. That was us, that's Carl and I now. So I'm gonna close with this. There's a price to pay to be an entrepreneur. This isn't for everybody. You got to understand what it takes. There's an emotional price you will pay because you will never, ever be able to turn it off as long as you own that business. People send their children to school, they live off of the decisions you make. You have to ask yourself, do you want that responsibility? It's a heck of a responsibility. I'm telling you, I'm at that point now, I am ready for my kids to take it because it's been a tough, long 30 years. Yes, we've done well, but it definitely takes a toll. And when you run a business, you run an adult daycare center. That's what I really call it. How many of y'all run a business in here? All right, y'all know about running that adult daycare center. But let me tell you something, there's nothing better than being your own boss. We are stronger than we ever realized, and you're not alone. And remember, you must have hope. Without hope, we can't do anything. Strength, you are so strong. But dream big. I didn't dream big enough, I'm telling you. I exceeded my dreams. I had to recreate dreams. And one of the reasons I didn't dream big because I didn't think survivors of childhood sexual abuse had good things happen to them. So I didn't dream big. Dream incredibly big. You can do some incredible stuff. Pray, prepare, and execute. And chart your course. Make it happen. Thank y'all very much.
Why must I feel like that? Why must I chase the cat?
Nothing but the dog in me. Why must I chase the cat?
We would have a couple of questions. So if anybody has any questions about anything, I'm very transparent. I will do my best to answer your question if you have one. Anybody have any questions? All right, where are you? All right, well, come on and see me. All right, anybody else? Excuse me? You know, it was interesting. That's a great question. What did I tell myself to break through the fear? you know, I didn't want to be a chump. You know, I didn't want to just say he won, they won, somebody won. I said, I'm stronger than that, I'm better than that. Plus, I've been to the other side of fear, and I know how good it feels when you push yourself through something. I mean, I have to do that even today. Now my fear is, and I had this situation about, we had been in business 20 years and we were doing pretty good. I started getting scared. I don't want to mess up now. So I started playing prevent defense. And you know what happens in prevent defense, eventually they score. So I realized I was so busy just trying to stay status quo, I was actually losing ground. So I realized I got to be aggressive to the end. So that's what you got to do. You have to find whatever it is that's in you that pushes you. Now, my family and some close friends, I talk to them, and we help each other push through stuff. So you can't push through fear by yourself. You got to have somebody who pushes you, that gives you a reason, who you can talk to and help you see that fear really isn't real. And they're there with you. But eventually you have to go through by yourself. Any other questions? I know y'all ready to roll, get up out of here. Weather's nice, because I know Michigan don't have weather good too long. You know, I live where we get 275 days of sun, so when I flew in yesterday, I was just looking, I said, Carla, take pictures. We got sun in Michigan. Any other questions? Go ahead. How did I find my business in the beginning? Stand up a little bit.
I have a mic for me.
Oh, my wife and I took a $3,000 loan. And let me tell you something. We were scared. My first contract was $88,000. And to me, that was like $1 billion. And I've signed $2 billion contracts since then. But that first one for $88,000, I was so scared. And all we had was that little $3,000 I borrowed. I was scared to death. But we kept living, we always, even to this day, we live beneath our means. Everything you see I wear, I got it on sale. And often I'm just trying to tell y'all, I don't wear no name brand, nothing. I used to want all that, then I realized that was just throwing away money. And I buy all my clothes when the season going off, so I might be in linen in the winter, but I be cheap. I'm just trying to tell y'all. Now, I want to make something clear. I will spend money on good stuff or good things or helping others. So I'm not so tight that I won't enjoy life or do things, but don't waste money just to look a certain way. Because here's the other beautiful thing. When you start making a couple of dollars, everybody think everything you wear is real anyway. So when they wear polo, I got Colo on. They don't know the difference. So we borrowed $3,000, and we just was really smart. And my wife went back to school and became a registered nurse, so therefore she could generate income. And she always managed the money because she was very good. She's one of those people who stay up and find that missing penny on the bank statement. Me, I'm like, I'm close enough, you know. So she's always managed the money. Now, the only thing I'll tell you about that, you've been married a long time, she done skimmed off the top a whole lot of money. I do know that. And I tell y'all this, she wakes up once a quarter and go, baby, you getting older in case you get stupid. You know we ain't got no prenup. I'll hurt you and hurt you bad. So she's smart and she's been skimming. Anything else? I told you, I'll tell you the truth. Anything else? I have to ask y'all one question before I leave. Is it wrong for me when my daughter dates somebody and I take them to the job site and show them how we pour concrete? I mean, my daughter looks at me like, Daddy, why? Because I grab them by the back of the neck and I just put them near the concrete, go, if you fall in, we can't stop. That's the beauty of being a contractor. It works great with dating, I promise y'all. Thank y'all again.